This stadium cost $900 million. Today, its parking lot is a bus depot. It's in Brasília, a city with no First Division football team. Brazil paid for it. FIFA didn't. This wasn't an accident. It's the business model. FIFA doesn't build the stadiums, it doesn't pay for them. But every 4 years, it collects around $13 billion and asks the host country for a full tax exemption. Officially, it's a non-profit, a club registered under Swiss law. Host after host has been left with the debt and with stadiums nobody needs. Remember that number. Somebody has to pay the bill. Economists have a name for a stadium like that. They call it a white elephant. And the phrase is older than you'd think. In Old Siam, today's Thailand, a white elephant was sacred. Laws protected it, so you couldn't put it to work, you couldn't sell it. And if the king gave you one, you couldn't refuse. So, as the story goes, when a king wanted to quietly ruin a nobleman, he didn't send an army, he sent a gift. A magnificent, useless, ruinously expensive gift. That's a white elephant, an asset that costs more to keep than it will ever return, and one you can't get rid of. Modern governments build them out of concrete and steel, and they've been doing it for 50 years. 1976, Montreal builds an Olympic stadium so far over budget that locals rename it the Big O. The final debt? Around $1.5 billion. It took taxpayers 30 years to pay off, largely through a special tax on cigarettes. The stadium was the monument. The debt was the legacy. Now hold that thought because FIFA turned this into a business model. So here's how it actually works. To host a World Cup, a country doesn't just win a vote. It signs a stack of documents FIFA calls the government guarantees. Every level of government has to sign. And the core demand is stunning: a comprehensive tax exemption. For FIFA, and for nearly everyone it brings with it, corporate tax, income tax, sales tax, customs duties, waived. The one thing a host is still allowed to tax, the ticket you buy. And even that gets capped. How generous. And inside the stadiums, commercial law bends too. Marketing rules, brand protection, even special exclusion zones, all redrawn around FIFA's sponsors. So the money flows out to Switzerland. The tax base stays home. On the tournament's biggest revenue, FIFA's effective tax in the host country is basically zero. A tax-free bubble dropped onto your economy for a month. Now, where does all that money actually go? So where does $13 billion actually come from? Overwhelmingly from your screen. Broadcasting rights are the engine. Every 4 years, broadcasters all over the world pay FIFA for the right to show the World Cup. It is by far the single biggest slice. Then come the sponsors, the global brands stitched onto every replay. Then tickets, and the pricey VIP packages. Add it all up, and 1 month of football brings in around $13 billion. And here's the strange part. All of it is collected by a non-profit. A non-profit that cycle after cycle sits on billions of dollars in reserves. A surplus that just keeps growing. A non-profit that never quite runs out of profit. But that's only half the story, because FIFA's money flows in from all over the world. The other half of the equation, the cost, gets paid by just one country, the host. And the single biggest bill? The stadiums. Remember that bus depot from the beginning? That's actually Brazil's least embarrassing stadium. Deep in the Amazon rainforest sits the Arena da Amazônia, about $270 million built for Manaus. Manaus doesn't have a team in the country's top division. Local reports put one 4-month stretch at $180,000 in revenue, against a loss of more than $500,000. Upkeep alone reportedly runs roughly $250,000 a month. In Cuiabá, the arena was shuttered over safety and construction failures. Homeless families were later reportedly moved into its locker rooms. In Recife, a brand new stadium landed in a city that never found a permanent major club. Brazil's stadium program overall drew bid rigging and corruption investigations. Rewind to 2010. South Africa spent over $1 billion on World Cup stadiums. Cape Town's Greenpoint reportedly around $600 million. One of the most beautiful stadiums on Earth, and one of the emptiest. It reportedly loses $6 to $10 million every year. It's been reported the site was picked partly for the view, not the need. 2018. Russia spends around $11 billion on 12 stadiums. Most now reportedly play to half-empty stands. Then the most expensive World Cup ever, Qatar 2022. The stadiums alone reportedly cost around $6.5 billion. The entire national build-out, metros, roads, a new airport, hotels, is often estimated in the hundreds of billions. Qatar's cleverest answer was Stadium 974, built from shipping containers, designed to be dismantled and shipped to a country that needed it. It's still standing exactly where it was built. Even the solution to the white elephant became one. This isn't bad luck, it's a pattern with a name. Economists call it the winner's curse. The city that wins the bid is often the one that loses money. And it's not just stadiums. Mega projects almost anywhere almost always run the same way. Over budget, over time, underused once they're built. Stadiums are just the textbook case, the clearest version of a pattern that shows up again and again in project after project, city after city. So look at how the risk is actually split. FIFA's side of the table, guaranteed revenue, tax-free, banked safely in Switzerland. The host side, the construction bill, the cost overruns, the corruption investigations, and a maintenance invoice that arrives every single month, for decades. FIFA privatizes the profit. The host socializes the law. 2026 is different. The United States, Canada, and Mexico already have the stadiums. Fewer new white elephants this time. But the money machine adapted. Host regions still wrote their own tax carve-outs. And FIFA now runs the official resale market too, taking a fee from both the buyer and the seller on every ticket that changes hands. FIFA's own rules, not a rumor. The stadiums might survive, the model didn't. FIFA collects, someone else pays. Add it up. FIFA's side of the ledger, revenue climbing every cycle. Tax close to zero. Reserves bigger than the last cycle. The host side, stadiums standing empty. Debt that doesn't disappear. A maintenance bill that outlives the tournament by decades. $13 billion. That's what FIFA reported in revenue over one cycle alone. Almost none of it taxed. The tournament lasts a month. The debt lasts a generation.